Hello, welcome to my daily sketch tutorial. And today, this cute little bungalow that I have found as a reference photo is located in Key Largo, Florida. I picked it because I liked the chairs and the two little bicycles. It's just a sweet little reference photo. And I'm starting off in the middle, and I'm getting the door and then the slider door in. And then from there I could use those as my guidelines to where everything else goes in from there. And I'll go into the roof, and that makes it a little bit easier for me. And I only went so far down on those the slider glass door because the chairs are in front of it. So I just did the top in there, and then I'll move on to the roof. But today I'm using a piece of Strathmore cold pressed watercolor paper. It's 140 pound. I bought a big booklet of it. It was buy one get one free, and so I bought two books, and I just cut the paper down to the size that I want. So I think this is I'm working on a 7-inch by 9-inch square right now, or rectangle. And I've got my Lamy Safari pen that has the refillable ink cartridge, not the cartridge that comes with it, but I purchased a separate refillable ink cartridge. And I put Noodler's ink, waterproof ink in that because we're going to do watercolor after. And that ceiling fan was really interesting. As you could see, it's just follow what you see. It's some of those blades are a little bit wider, and some are because just the way it's laying out. So that you just have to, even though it looks odd, you just use your eye and sketch what you see. And these chairs, I'm just gonna do the outline kind of them. I'm gonna make them simple. I'm gonna kind of break them down and not have them as complicated. So do the back, the base, 2 lines for the arms, and then the legs. And after I do the watercolor, I'll go in and finish up details on that. So again, this Lamy Safari has waterproof ink because I'm going to be doing watercolor on this after. And if I use the ink that the Lamy pen comes with, all my ink marks would run. And we don't want that. We don't want to spend all that time working on our drawing and then ruin it with the wrong ink. So in the description below the video, I will help you out. I'll put in all of the supplies that I use, and I will put even a link if you're interested, and you can go straight to Amazon and get the Lamy pen, the refillable cartridge, and the ink. Watercolor paper, I'm going to put everything on there. I'm going to be using markers, the different brushes. So it's very easily accessible. And it's very interesting, since I've been filming these, I'll play them back, and I've sped it up because it seems like every sketch takes me about an hour, no matter what. I mean, I'm picking pretty much the same type of style, not way too complicated, but not too simple. This one has a lot of angles, so that kind of slowed me down a little bit. but every sketch and after the painting, it's about an hour long, so I will speed this up. And so we're at about 24 minutes for this full video. But when I play it back and I narrate over it, I see things. It's really interesting because I'm like, oh, yeah, that's not right. I need to do better next time. And I realized something with bicycles. So the next bike, it's the wheels. I'm not doing the wheels right. So the next bike I do, or when I redo, I'm going to redo all these sketches down the road. I'm going to wait about a year and then I'm going to start doing them again. And then I want to see how how my skill set has improved and if it's changed, because we're always evolving as artists. We don't, if we knew it all and we just stopped and we thought we knew it all, it wouldn't be fun. So we're always evolving. That's the beauty of it. Just learning. So I was watching me sketch the bikes, which comes in a little bit later, and I'm just like, oh. And these stairs, well, they're not looking like stairs. They're just going straight down. So then I tried to angle it a little bit right there, but it needed to be a hair more. So it's so interesting to watch these back and narrate over it, because I'm like, yeah, I need to change that. I need to do this. And it's all, I'm just learning new things every day that I sketch. And I do sketch every single day. And sometimes I'll sketch 3 or 4 sketches. And I'm always learning. And these bikes are just, they're just not great. But I'm going to put watercolor over them, and I'm going to disguise some of that stuff. So yay for that. But I realized that my wheels were just funky. And now I know what to do. So I will share that with you next time. Because I can't really explain it. So I apologize. I don't mean to be a teaser. But I'll clarify it next time when I am doing another bicycle. And I'll zoom in on it. So there's just there's like the bush back there, and there's a fence, and I think this is a pergola. So I'm not putting in that much detail. I'm just putting a hint of what the background is. And then I did my palm trees differently this time. So I did them with the palm fronds with a rigger brush. And so that was really fun. So wait till we get there. You're going to enjoy that. And I'll just get those bushes in there. I love that little green mat to wipe the sand off your feet. And just a hint of plants, just with some squiggle lines. And I realized I forgot to put in that beam, or not a beam. It's not a railing. Post. I forgot to put in that post. I'm sorry, you guys. Sometimes I'm at a loss for words. So I just put it in there, and we're going to cover that up with green watercolor paint foliage anyways. So that's the beauty of these. They're fun. We're learning, we're sketching, we're growing, and they're not supposed to be perfect because it's my interpretation. So got my artist loft with my watercolor paints. I've got a rigger brush, haven't used that lately, a 2.0 fine tip, a 6 flat, and a 6 round, and a little cup container of water. And my rigger is a mess. That brush has been loved. It's just got all kinds of paint all over it. The handle. I guess I don't clean the handles. I clean the brush, but I don't clean the handles that well. That's acrylic on there anyways. So this, I don't know why it's looking a little orange, but it dried beautifully because watercolor always dries lighter. So I'm glad I went a little bit deeper, and it turned out really well once it dried. But when I was looking at it, I'm like, that looks a little orange. So I'm using a turquoise hue for these chairs. Nice, bright, beautiful color. I actually have chairs just like this. In my yard. So we'll put a little bit of paint on those bikes. We'll just kind of disguise my little bit of the flaws that I made on those wheels. And you'll never know. So I've got some Payne's Gray mixed with a lot of white. I mean, excuse me, a lot of water to water it down. Don't want it that dark. And just putting in all the shadowing. And that shadow kind of comes across that front door there. And put some under the bikes, underneath the bushes. I love doing shadowing. And part of those chairs were a little lighter, so I'm trying to pull out. By having a clean, damp brush, I can kind of pull out a little bit of that color. And this is just a little bit of brown and white. For those floorboards. And that was my dog saying hello. So I'm using a little bit more of that Payne's Gray into the back of that fencing back there. There was like a wall. I just used the stripes of the tip of the brush just to give some detail back there. I'm going to wet the paper where all of my foliage, all my bushes are, and the vines. And I've mixed up a little sap green and just a little bit of ultramarine blue. Kind of a medium shade green. And I'll let those dry a little bit. I'll put that matte in, and then I'm going to put that matte color on top. And I like to mix up my greens. And then I'm putting a little bit of Payne's Gray into that green that's on my palette and just putting that on the lower part for some shadows between the leaves. So I'm taking my rigger brush, wet the rigger brush down, fill it with green paint, and I'm just kind of gonna pull it across. I use the tip for the branches, the frond branch part, and then I went sideways with it and gave it that kind of feel of the leaves or the fronds or the whatever you call those. And I put a little bit darker green and just drag it across. And the end for just some more of those branchy parts. I like that. I thought that the rigger turned out really nice for the palm fronds. Normally I'll ink that. I'll do a messy ink, but today I wanted to try something a little different, and I think I really like that. So there's a curtain in there behind that glass, and it's kind of a gold. So I mixed a little bit of brown and a little bit of yellow ochre, and I'm going to pull a little bit out of that up because there's a glare in that window. And then don't forget the matte. It's just a deeper, like a rust color. And the very, very light Payne's Gray on that step, on the part of the steps there. So now I'm getting out my markers, and I've got 2 Tombos, and I've got my 2 Faber-Castells. I'm going to go ahead and do some more ink over. So I've got the 0.5 Faber-Castell to do any thicker line work. If I'm doing some really filling in like that fan. And then I'll put that, I forgot to put the light in, so I'll get that light in there. And then I'm switching to the 0.1. It's a finer tip, so I want to get, if you have anything really small, the 0.1 is amazing for that. And then I went back to my watercolor palette for some yellow paint for that light shining down. And back to the 0.1 Faber, and that's where I'm going to put in the detail of the chairs. I think that worked out really nice. I liked doing it that way. I think last time I penciled in the background of the chairs, the slats, and I didn't like that. It was too difficult. This was way easier. And I just did like a hint. And then outlining those bikes, and they're kind of back there. You can't even see them. Anything that doesn't look right, I've hidden. It's the beauty of watercolor. And then finishing off with some ink. Could make it look good again. So I've got, this is the Tombow N60, very, very light gray. And I'm putting in the details of that door. And there's some trim detail, wood trim details. So this is a perfect tool for that. Nice and soft. Then I've got the darker N55, and I'm putting in a little bit more shadowing under the chairs, the mats, the bikes. Oh, and there's two sides to the Tombos, which is amazing. You've got the brush, and then you've got the fine tip. So I switched to the fine tip for that little detail under the stairs. And these Tombos are not waterproof. They do have Tombos that are waterproof. I don't happen to own them, so I'm using them at the end when I know I'm not putting any more watercolor on, because they will run. And a little bit, a hint of a curtain with the lighter N60. So I forgot to do the wheels of the bike, so I'm going to just put a little bit of a pale yellow with that detail brush. So they're not white paper. And then I've got the 0. Oh, no, excuse me. I'm sorry. Yeah, the 0.1 Faber Castile, just to finish off those palm tree trunks with some zigzag lines. And I'm going to outline the inner part of the door and the window. At this point, I'm just looking for what I can kind of touch up to make pop, and I'm grabbing the thicker 0.5 Faber-Castile to go just underneath that awning, and there's some rivets in that top part of the roof. Just putting some dots for those rivets. The hinges. All those tiny little things, they help. And then I'm here and there doing a couple floorboards with the 0.1. Not that that was weathered. It wasn't a weathered porch, but I like to make things look aged, weathered. So I'm just doing a little bit more outlining in that roof, and then putting in my gravel, just little rocks and tiny little circles and dots. Instead of doing splatters on this one, we've got some gravel. It's a really, really nice finishing touch underneath those, if you call those stairs, I don't know. I gotta work on those. But yep, that's about it. So here is the finished sketch. It looks really cute though. I mean, there's some things I gotta work on. The bikes, the stairs, you know. The roof looks like it was, the roof looks a little wonky. We'll just say it went through a hurricane, and it needs repair. But other than that, it makes me happy. It's a joyful sketch. So I got some takeaways. I hope you got some takeaways. And I want to thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you so much. Subscribe if you want to see more, if you haven't subscribed already. And if you have any comments, please feel free to leave me a comment or a question. And I will list all of the supplies I used in the description underneath the video, with links that you can easily just click on and find them. So I want to thank you so much for your time. Have a wonderful day, and bye for now.